Hello everyone, this is going to be my spoiler-free review of the new Amazon Prime movie. It is called I Care a Lot. You may think that's a bit of a naff title, but actually once you start watching the film and get a feel for it, you'll see exactly why it's called that. It's a very ironic title, which actually works perfectly. So yeah, I'm just going to give my general thoughts on this, and I won't go into certainly not any major spoilers, but this is just a quick review to give you my impressions and whether you should take a look. So, new movie out this week, as I said, on Amazon. It's a first time feature, I think. I think I heard that right. So the setup is that Rosamund Pike plays a con artist, Marla, who, along with her partner, as in her partner, as in the operation, but also their lovers as well, they set up this thing where they basically trick people or sort of manipulate the system so that she can be legally set up as their guardian for, so it's basically elderly people who have there's a loophole in their sort of contract, or it's they're sort of fragile, so they're easy to take advantage of. They have a condition, but they basically look for something which will make it easier for them to legally take control of them and essentially put them in a home and have access to their finances. So that's the other thing. They basically, they pick out targets who are well off, quite rich. And we see a good example of this at the start of the film, where there's a whole court case over one of their recent targets. So the whole thing is that Marla is very sort of ruthless and cynical, and it's a whole, obviously money grabbing sort of scheme. And we get a voiceover from her character at various times throughout the film where she's almost narrating, and we get inside her head and start to get an idea of her motivations. But the twist comes when she takes on this client, this woman played by Diane Weiss, who it turns out is the mother of a gangster, a mob leader played by Peter Dinklage, station agent, Game of Thrones, amongst other things. So from that moment onwards, it becomes this kind of story where she's kind of, maybe her luck has sort of run out and she's picked on the wrong sort of client, and it then becomes this almost battle between the two sides where the Peter Dinklage character is doing everything to get his mother out of this care place and to take control of the situation by any means necessary, which could, I guess this is no surprise considering he's a mobster, could potentially mean bumping off Marla. And Marla does everything in her powers to fight back and to keep control and keep Jennifer, the Diane Weiss character, is under her control. So that's the sort of basic setup for the film. So it's this really very sort of full on satire mixed in with a sort of a thriller type plot later on in the film. I think it's a film of two halves in many ways, because at at the start of the film it is this very sort of slick, sort of quite potent sort of satire about this ruthless woman, very cynical woman who just manipulates the system. I mean, she's almost like a machine, very sort of cold and clinical, calculating, and it's quite an entertaining film in the first half. There's some particularly funny moments with the Peter Dinklage character, and I think at the start of the film it's easy to see him as sort of kind of like a more comic relief type character. he's almost doing the more quirky sort of Peter Dinklage type sort of performance, which I think lets you into the character, but then there is a more nasty, dangerous side sort of lurking underneath, I think. Well, that's the way we go, anyway. But the second half of the film, it does turn into more of a thriller, more of a there are stakes and jeopardies, because you get some action set pieces early on, but they're actually more funny. But then later on, as things start to spiral out of control and we get both sides, really going for it, really high risk sort of stuff, it does turn into a different sort of film before kind of, coming back round to be this really bitey sort of satire by the end. And I think this is the sort of film where it sort of lives and dies on how convincing the two halves are, how they balance it. And I think they get the balance really spot on. I think this is a really well sort of scripted and paced movie. I think, as I said, it makes its points very well, very sort of sharp satire, entertaining film as well, which I think you need in this sort of film, but also really good action, really atmosphere and tense, and some good pacing, some good set pieces. I think you really feel the jeopardy in the second half of the film, and yeah, there is that sense that Marla is maybe biting off more than she can chew, or that she's maybe gone too far. And so, very good storytelling, very good tension when it needs to be. Obviously, a dark sort of satirical side, which is very, very well done. And tremendous performances, really good casting all the way through. I think you really get the sense of these characters and their sort of morality, or I guess lack of morality in a way. But the performances are so compelling and it's so well played out. Then I think you're still engrossed with them, even though there's a lot of unlikable characters in this film. But Rosamund Pike is excellent. I think this is the sort of role she excels in. I think ever since Gone Girl, she's maybe never been that good again. Like maybe she's been a bit typecast since then. But this is her on top form. She's really this ruthless, sort of cold, clinical sort of presence. A lot of charisma. She uses her charisma really well. And you really believe that she is just this ruthless, unstoppable, just monster sort of thing. And it's a brilliant performance. She really commands the screen, and you would like to see, awards nominations. As I said, it's her best role and performance since Gone Girl, I think. Unfortunately, this sort of film doesn't always get recognition at awards, but she is excellent. It's really her in her element. And there's this thing going on where it's almost like playing with this idea of not just capitalism, sort of ruling the world and ruling people's lives, but I think also the sexist side of it. And there's this interesting idea with her character, with Marla, where I think she sees herself as a feminist sort of thing. She sees it as not only do you have to be ruthless and cutthroat, underhanded to get ahead in the world and to strive, but you also you need that even more so as a woman. It's almost like she's trying doubly hard. She has this never stop attitude. She doesn't cut any corners. She's always looking ahead to the next scheme. She never switches off, and I think she feels driven by the fact that it's a sexist world, and for women, it's even harder. Now, I'm not saying that should make her sympathetic, because she is a really despicable character and almost impossible to like in any way at times. But I think there is definitely a thing in here where she sees herself as a bit of a feminist, and she has to do it for, or she has to push herself extra hard because she is a woman, and otherwise she might not get ahead. So there's some interesting themes in here. I think obviously good supporting cast. Peter Dinklage is very good, as always. He's very intimidating when he needs to be. Brings a bit of a, as I said, a quirky, entertaining side. Diane Weiss is another reliably good actress. There's a good supporting role for Chris Mesurier as a lawyer, and it's also just a lot of fun watching this battle sort of rage between the two sides. I think it's almost like these two sort of underhanded cutthroats go at it, and it's actually quite good fun. I think at times it's hard to know who to root for, if anyone. In a way, I sort of was rooting a bit more for Dinklage, I think, at times. But there's this interesting contrast between the two sides. I think there's various times where they almost come a cropper, and it's almost because of, well, it's down to something they've done, and it's sort of almost their own fault. I think at times because of the mob sort of lifestyle and culture, I think that almost, well, I'm maybe, but anyway, let's just say there's things that come up in the film where it makes it harder at times. It sort of screws over Dinklage because they live as criminals and the underworld, and that sort of comes back to bite him. Whereas Marla, although she's rigging the system to suit her, she does at least put on the appearance of playing by the book. I think that's why it works so well, because she is so sort of clean cut and stuff. So she's very manipulative in that way. But on the other hand, because Marla, the whole point of the film is that if you continue running these schemes, eventually you're going to run into the wrong person. You're going to screw over the wrong person, and there's going to be potential consequences. And so almost because of her way of life, because she's constantly screwing people over, it's almost like eventually your luck is going to run out, and there's going to be, finally you're going to meet your match. And that's why maybe the most sympathetic character in the film is actually Marla's girlfriend, because you never get the impression she's so much on the side of, yeah, screw the world, let's screw everyone, let's just, I mean, she's definitely along for the ride and they are a partnership, but I don't think she's ever as much in the dirt as Marla. And there's certainly a point in the film where things are getting serious, where she starts to suggest, well, maybe we've been off too much here, maybe we should get out of this, and starts questioning things. And she is reasonably sympathetic, as is obviously the Diane Weiss character. But a lot of murky sort of things in this film. I think also it's, as I said, not only a very intense film at times, but also some good twists and turns. There's some nicely played twists. There's kind of a twist with the Diane Weiss character in some ways, and some standout set pieces, like a good sort of courtroom scene in particular with the Chris Masura character and the Marla character, and a scene in a car. That's all I'll say. And a shootout in a old people's home. I won't say any more, but that's an entertaining scene, and it certainly makes its point by the ending. The ending's very interesting, but good stuff. I liked it a lot. Great performances, as I said, really well directed, good pacing, powerful satire, made some interesting points, and a satisfying ending. I thought the ending worked really well. So good stuff. I highly recommend this. As I said, it's on Amazon Prime now, and I'll give it an 8 out of 10. So go and check it out. I think a lot of people should watch this film. It's good fun, a good satire, but with tension as well. Interesting themes. So if you've seen I Care a Lot, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. And you can also ding the bell on YouTube for notifications. But I'll see you with another movie review coming up soon. See you guys later. Goodbye.